President Trump has announced a new trade agreement with the European Union, successfully avoiding a potential trade war with that bloc, which is America's largest trading partner. To discuss the announcement, we're joined from Sydney by Professor Tim Harcourt from UTS, also host of the Airport Economist channel right here on Ticker. Good to see you, sir. Talk to us about President Trump. How did he manage to avoid a trade war with the EU?
It's extraordinary, Aaron, isn't it? I mean, it's a third of the global economy, in effect, in trade, and there was concerns that there'd be 30–45% tariffs everywhere between the two, and it would have caused retaliation from Europe, but it's 15% across the board, and the Europeans have pledged to invest more in the United States. So, yeah, I'm quite surprised, actually, that he was able to get all that with the EU.
Yeah, pretty incredible, because in a sense, Europe had been at war with him over this. We'd heard from many a European leader. It didn't feel like this was likely to happen, but I guess the question is, who capitulated?
Well, it's interesting because the European Union is notoriously, difficult and protectionist when it comes to trade. We've had our own experience with that with our, as Australia, particularly in agriculture. So it seems that they want to avoid an all-out trade war, and they probably thought the best thing was to do some sort of deal and make some pledges on investment, and that would at least settle things down, and that will, hopefully settle the rest of the world down in terms of the threat of a trade war.
All right, let's have a listen to President Trump.
The tariff straight across for automobiles and everything else will be a straight across tariff of 15%. So we have a tariff of 15%. We have the opening up of all of the European countries, which I think I could say were essentially closed. I mean, you weren't exactly taking our autos, you weren't exactly taking our agriculture, and then you would have smaller things, but for the most part it was closed. And now it's open. It's open for our companies to go in and do a good job with it. I think you'll like them. I think you'll like it.
Watching the uncomfortableness of von der Leyen there, sitting there, just kind of, will this end? It was like being at the dentist.
Now, poker face.
She does a good job, I'll give her that. What impact will the 15% tariff on EU imports have on consumers, though?
Oh, it's still 15%. I mean, and obviously the cost of living is very high in Europe with all their internal regulation. I mean, it is good to see someone talking straight to the European Union. I mean, the common agricultural subsidies, they used to say you could fly all the cows from France around the world twice, business class, the cost of them. So it is good to see some, blunt speaking with the European unions on, at least on agriculture, but some of it's quite extraordinary. He went on in the press conference to complain about windmills and the fact that birds get caught into them, and that whales wash up on the Massachusetts coast because they go loco, he said.
Well, I mean, he might say that, but he's also a salesman, right? The EU's committed $750 billion to US energy products.
That's right. Well, that's right. And he made a good point too, that a lot of the renewables were heavily subsidised, and you shouldn't be paying for energy. Energy should make money for you. So he had a few points in there in the rather long monologue, but it seems that basically, Aaron, they've bought it.
So how do you think that the deal reshapes the global trade landscape? And now that the EU and the US aren't essentially at war over trade, can they get back on to targeting Putin, do you think?
Well, that's right. I mean, that takes away a huge obstacle in Ukraine and EU. There's still some tensions with the Middle East, with Macron going out on a limb with respect to Palestine, but Trump sort of let him hang on that. And also, I mean, other trade deals are happening. Modi was in the UK in the past few days, and he signed an agreement with the UK. So obviously there are trade deals happening. So perhaps, some of these deals that Trump is doing is providing a bit of impetus for other nations to get their act together.
I'm going to have to ask you now about your views on what President Macron has done there, recognising Palestine. Few interesting articles out today in Australia that Albanese is dying to do the same thing, but just waiting for the right moment. What do you think?
Well, it's premature. I mean, they're just about to do a deal to get all the hostages back. By doing this, it gives Hamas basically more incentive to hang on to the hostages and keep fighting, much to the harm of the Palestinian people in Gaza. So, yeah, I don't think Macron's going to help. And you got to ask yourself, giving Palestine a state, you have another dysfunctional Islamicist, fascist state in the Middle East, and it'll be a reward for October the 7th, 2023. Probably create more instability in the Middle East, not less.
What do you think MAGA will be thinking about these trade deals, that there are deals as opposed to carrying on a trade war? Do you think the MAGA faithful would rather take it to Europe and keep taking it to Europe and China, or do you think that MAGA will be glad it's over?
That's an interesting point. I think MAGA doesn't think a lot about free trade versus protection in principle. I think they just want to say that their guy can do a deal. He's a businessman who can cut a deal, and it will be a better deal for America because Europe, Asia, fill in the blank, has been ripping off America for so long. And so I think they're attracted not to, protectionism per se. I think for them it's, can he do a deal, and is the deal in America's interest? And it's as simple as that, Aaron.
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Always appreciate your insights, Professor Tim Harcourt. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Aaron.